if you ever have to use this memory tip, you're gonna hate it because it's pretty bad, but it is super useful in specific situations and you have to be aware of it. And the memory tip is starting over from scratch. So for whatever reason, maybe you use a wrong technique for the first half of it and you realize, oh crap, that was not the right way. I'm gonna have all these problems when I try to memorize everything else. Guess what? Starting from scratch is going to be way easier than trying to fix whatever mistake you made. So let's take the periodic table of elements. So let's say you're in the zone and you're just memorizing everything like a champion, you know, but you forget to go to these elements down here. You just keep going straight. And then you realize like, oh crap, I skipped all of these. Now, you might think, okay, maybe I could find some locations in the palace and fit them there. You probably wouldn't be able to because there's so many more elements, you know? So you probably won't have that amount of locations. You might be thinking, hey, let me try to kind of, let me try to replace all the images in the location that should have these ones. And so when you do that, guess what? Now you have two sets of images in that specific location because you have the wrong element and the right element. And so that's going to mess you up recalling the information because you'll be figuring out which one was the right image again. And so you want to avoid anything that's going to screw up your recalling because you might be recalling for a memory feat, for a game show, for a test, or whatever it may be. So you can't afford to be confused at all. You have to make sure whatever images you have are going to be the images that you need at that time. And so the easiest thing to do is say, screw it. I'm going to lose this palace, lose all these elements I memorized, start from scratch, and that's okay because that's going to be way easier than trying to fix this problem that you have. This is going to give you a headache. Starting over from scratch, guess what? Yes, you have to create a memory palace, but you know all the images you're going to be using for all the different elements already, right? And so that's probably the thing that takes the most time is trying to come up with the correct image for the information. Because you're like, oh, what's going to be the right image? But you already have it because you already tried memorizing this. So it's not an end-all be-all starting from scratch because you could use probably a majority of what you came up with from the previous attempt. It just makes everything so much easier because you're not trying to patch a problem. You're starting completely clean. So if you're trying to memorize all these trivia questions and halfway through you're like, oh man, there was a much better way to memorize everything. Going back and trying to fix it is going to be a lot harder because it may screw you up on these other ones. You might start getting confused like, oh, wait, so which methods here? What question was it again? And so you start getting confused about these different things. It's easier to save yourself the headache by starting from scratch. Now, I'm not saying you should start from scratch every single time you make a mistake, every single time a problem arises with whatever you're memorizing. Because let's say for right here, rhodium and palladium. So let's say you skip palladium and go straight to silver. Well, maybe in your palace there's a location between 45 and 47 that you could use for 46. Do that. Don't start from scratch like that, okay? Because more likely than not, right here I have a TV and a door. So say if that was 45, 47. There's a poster right here framed. I could use that as location 46. That saves me a lot of time. I might not like having the poster as a location, but that's way better than starting over from scratch. When you have this many elements, you're not going to find that many locations in between your locations you currently have, right? And so that's why you have to start over from scratch in that situation because it is just too much effort to try to overwrite everything you already did and try to force it into stuff that doesn't exist. And so you have to be aware of whatever you're learning, like, okay, I made a mistake. What is it going to take to fix it? And once you start listing all the reasons off, you're like, man, that's a lot of work. Boom, that's a cue that's a cue for you. Screw it, start over. Because if you start to get like a headache or like, man, this is going to be so stressful, it's going to be so complicated, it's just so much easier to start over. So hopefully you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time.